So, hi everyone. Lovely to join you. For those of you who haven't seen me already, I've done a couple of presentations at TDC in the last couple of days, and you might see me in the API microservice track later. But for those who haven't seen me, I'm Grace Jansen, and I'm a developer advocate at IBM in the UK. I will try and get around to all your questions, if you have any, at the very end of this presentation. We can have a little discussion if you'd like. If I don't get around to them, or if you think of something later, I've put my Twitter handle here. It's dotted throughout the presentation, so feel free to tweet me, send me a message. I'm generally fairly active on there, so you can ask me anything after the session. So with that, let's get going. So this presentation is thinking big, thinking diverse, and thinking forward. So first of all, who am I? Why am I presenting this? Why do I care about diversity? Well, although I'm a developer advocate now, and I do work within the technical departments at IBM, I work directly with the development teams. I actually came into IBM having done a biology degree with a specialism in fish. So I come from sort of a very different background, as you can see from sort of the research trips that I've got here on the right-hand side. But this sort of alternative background has really given me a unique perspective and a unique viewpoint that I bring to the team and to my role as a developer advocate. And so, yeah, after I basically switched to computer science after I realized just how much I enjoyed programming and sort of helping developers. So I'm going to hopefully be talking about just how, increasing the diversity, especially with women in technology, which is an area I'm really passionate about, but just in general, increasing diversity within employees and the workforce within the technology industry, why it's important, and why adding this unique and different perspective can be really useful for our businesses as well as for individuals. So I have an activity for you. Okay, so everyone pause for a minute and think of a famous computer scientist. Got one in your head? Okay, how many of them were male? How many of you guys picked a male famous computer scientist there? Because you might have been thinking of Alan Turing. You might have been thinking of Steve Jobs, maybe Bill Gates. Who knows? But who I was thinking of was Ada Lovelace. Now, how many of you actually thought of a female famous computer scientist? And that's part of the issue in terms of trying to get more diversity within our industry, trying to increase the number of women in technology. There's actually this huge prejudice, whereas, from history and just the fact that we have so much history in terms of male leaders within the technology industry, male innovators, inventors, etc., that actually there aren't that many female famous computer scientists that we get taught about at school, or we have programs on, or we get education on. And so this can be part of the issue. In fact, there was a study done where actually it was a PwC study. They were looking at, young children in secondary school age, so between the age of, say, 12 and 16, and they were asking them questions. And actually, out of those people they studied, those girls they studied, 78% of students couldn't name a famous female working in technology today, never mind in history, and 83% of them couldn't name a role model who inspires them to pursue a career in technology. And in fact, when you start looking at leadership positions held in the technology sector by women, there's only really about 5% of these positions that are female. So we have this sort of issue that we're trying to increase the diversity, we're trying to increase the number of women and young females, especially, who are looking at careers in technologies. But first, we have to be able to sort of help to influence that by providing these role models, by really giving them a platform from which they can be role models to the younger generation and encouraging them to learn about the females within this industry. So what is the problem we face? So this is a study that was done by the WISE campaign in 2016. So this is based on the UK, but we're seeing similar trends across the globe in many other countries. So when it comes to GCSEs, so GCSEs are exams that we take at the age of, in the UK, at the age of about 16 years old, and it's to get into the next stage of our education. So at GCSE level, it's pretty much a 50-50 split. In fact, when you start looking at the stats, girls actually end up outperforming, on the whole, on average, boys in science subjects. And there's normally near equality in terms of numbers taking these STEM exams. However, when we start moving up the education, so we get to the exams that we take between 16 and 18 years old, we see a drop off. So we've gone from 50% of girls to 24% at A level. So we're starting to see the number of girls diminish at this stage. We've already halved. And then if we go up again into higher education, so we're looking at university here, there's only 7%. So that's a huge drop in the number of women taking degrees in technology, engineering, and STEM subjects. And in fact, again, in studies that have been done, only 3% of females at secondary school say they are considering a career in technology as their first choice. 3%, that's tiny. And so there's this huge issue that as we go through the school system, we start to see this drop off in females pursuing these technology careers and thinking about technology careers as what they want to do when they grow up. But actually, when we start looking at the effect that diversity can have on us as an industry, on our organizations, on our business, on our products, we can see that actually there's a direct correlation between diversity and increased profitability and market value. Now, you might be thinking, yeah, sure there is. There really is. Okay, there have been studies that have been done. Diversity makes business sense. It doesn't just make sense on a sort of an emotional level in terms of us doing good by society, but it makes sense on a business level too. So it can actually, there are job shortages, for example. So this is one area in which it can make business sense. So the European Commission by 2020 estimates that there's going to be a shortage of 500,000 digital workers across the continent. And fewer than 1 in 3 current IT workers are female. So if we're able to get the number of females up and the number of females who are considering careers, we can start to shrink the number of shortages we have in terms of jobs, and we can start to fill those gaps. It also enables us to have greater annual GDP. McKinsey, a very famous consulting business, estimates that actually gender parity in the workforce could add up to 28 trillion or 26% of the annual GDP by 2025. And that's just in America. So you can see how actually they're already expecting that if we can increase the number of females in technology and in the workplace, there's actually an increase in annual GDP that could be created from this. There's also things like better product design. So think about it. If you're producing a product that's going to be used by a wide community, a very diverse community of people, it makes sense that you should have a wide diversity of people making the product to make it best for everyone when they're using it. There have been a few examples of this. So, for example, when Apple first brought out their health app, they claimed that it could provide health metrics on every important biometric metric that you could analyze to then pick up on potential issues, diseases, biological misfunctions, for example. One thing they didn't include in their app, a period tracker. For women, that's an extremely important sort of marker for many important diseases, infections, and potential conditions that people can have. And they completely missed it from their app. If they'd had perhaps more women working on the development of their app, maybe they wouldn't have missed it. Maybe it would have been included, and thus it would have provided a better customer experience to all users of their app. So providing better product design is also enabled by greater diversity and greater innovation. So being able to provide this different perspective, this different viewpoint, which enables that greater innovation into our products. So these are all of the benefits, and this is why we should be caring, not just on a moral level, but on a business level as well, about increasing the diversity within our businesses. So now that we know what the problem is, and we know why we care about this problem, how do we actually go about changing it, increasing the diversity? And I'm going to be focusing specifically on women in technology, but this can be applied to various different diversity groups, for example. So I'm going to show you a few examples of what we've done, what I've been involved with at IBM, some of the programs that we run here, and some of the initiatives we're involved with to help get women in technology and young women interested in technology careers. So some of these are very big projects and are more aspirational and inspirational, whereas others that I'll mention later on are very much programs that you could run locally and that you could take into local schools or your local, say, community itself. So let's take a look at a few examples. The first one, as I mentioned, some of these are aspirational. So I'm very fortunate that because I work at a company like IBM, we have the resources, the connections to be able to run really large initiatives to increase and encourage more women into technology and STEM. So we actually partnered up with Disney Marvel in 2019 to run a competition, an AI competition for young girls within the UK. So it was a national competition throughout the UK. And we essentially were using Captain Marvel, which you've probably come across this film, to act as a role model to essentially basically provide a very positive role model that women can be these superheroes too and have these fantastic superpowers and do good. So we actually ended up having over 200 entries to this competition from all across the country. And then we picked the top 10 teams who made it to the final. They then met some of our IBM mentors and we mentored them through building a prototype of their sort of entries, their competition entries, and then they were judged again at the final event. So throughout this, we had sort of IBM like technical developers who we got to be in this sort of promotional video. So you can see me here, not very comfortable with the hair and makeup. So we ended up getting our hair and makeup done by Disney, which was really fun. And we had this huge filming day where we were filming this promotional video to be able to essentially attract young women to take part in this competition and to understand that there are females out there especially young females within the technology industry who are working on stuff like this. And it could be them one day. They could look up to these people and perhaps think, oh, maybe I can do that. Maybe I can get involved and start learning about AI. So we created this sort of promotional video. I think I have time to be able to show it. So I'll quickly show you it. I'm going to have to switch my screen sharing. We figured this one out in the testing session earlier. So let me select the right one. It should be this one here. There we go. So I'm going to put it on full screen and hopefully you'll be able to hear this. So this is only a minute or so long. So I'm just going to let you watch the promotional video we created.
The world is full of heroes, superheroes, and real-life heroes.
We're bringing humans and machines together to make better decisions.
I use artificial intelligence to help athletes go higher, further, and faster.
I invent ways to help save endangered animals.
We're challenging girls 11 to 14 to lead the future in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Gather your friends and channel your superpowers to bring us your AI idea that could change the world.
AI stands for artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence is when a machine is able to mimic human intelligence and it's able to think and make decisions for itself.
One winning team will work with IBM and bring their idea to life.
You should definitely participate in this challenge because it gives you a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to come up with crazy but amazing ideas that we'd be able to implement and make the world a better place.
Visit girlswhochangetheworld.org.uk to enter now. Take on the challenge and be a hero.
So dramatic, I know. That was the promotional video that we created, and that's essentially what drove so many people to be able to participate and submit to this event. And yeah, we had some fantastic entries, and the creativity of these young females and the projects they came up with was incredible to see. So these were our top 10 finalists. As I said, they came from all over the UK, and we invited them to a semi-finalist day where we assigned them mentors. We had interactive sessions where we taught them real skills like design thinking skills on how to create a project whilst thinking about stakeholders. We had coding workshops, AI introductions, how to utilize the APIs they'd be needing to use the AI systems. And we had planning sessions for their prototypes. This continued. We had some remote mentoring that was going on between us and the finalists. And then eventually we essentially invited them back to be able to showcase the prototypes they'd created over the following weeks. And really, it was just incredible how these students were not afraid to tackle really tough issues within society, like knife crime, anorexia, mental health disorders. They were also designing projects to help the visually impaired people to navigate, and even a bin bot to clean our streets. So some fantastic ideas here being developed on some really hard-hitting issues that a lot of companies haven't found a solution for yet. So it was great to see this creativity and innovation happening at such a young age. And we ended up having our winners. So they're the top left team here. And their design was all about helping visually impaired people navigate through life outside of their homes safely and independently by using a wearable camera. So the camera would essentially send a 360-degree visual representation of their surroundings to a central nerve center, which in turn would send vocal instructions to their earpods, helping to guide them through the surrounding area. So we had some amazing projects, and it was just incredible to see so much innovation happening and being able to actually help these girls get hands-on experience with AI and build these prototypes. So I'm going to skip that video. I'll show you at the end if we have time. Now, that was a fantastic initiative. We got some great projects coming out of it, managed to inspire a lot of girls through it, but not everyone has the resources to run an event like Girls Who Change the World. So what can you do to make an impact that's maybe similar, but on a smaller scale? So something that you might be able to implement or mimic is our Think IT programs. So this was started at the IBM UK lab site back in 2011, and we've been running it every year ever since. So essentially, it's a 2-day event. We usually run it twice throughout the year, depending on how many signups we get. And we're targeting really girls aged between 12 and 13 from local schools from our area. So we invite local schools to nominate a couple of, like, say, 5 students each, and then we invite them to come to our labs for this 2-day event. And during it, this is really an opportunity for us to help these girls have an introduction to potential career possibilities within STEM and technology, help to improve their coding skills, give them that experience of coding that they may not have had before, and help to improve their soft skills as well as sort of inspiring them to maybe consider a career in technology and providing them with role models for that environment. So why do we run this? Well, as I said, helps to inspire girls' interest in STEM, helps to develop their coding skills and their soft skills. Normally, we break up the girls in schools. So we'll normally put them in groups with girls from other schools that they might never have met before. So it really helps them to mimic an environment like university or the workplace, where they're going to be introduced into a team with people they've not met before and they need to work with. So it's really introducing them to new experiences like this, but also to really fun activities involving coding and career possibilities as well, giving them that opportunity to discover what careers are available within technology. So this is what it's really like. It's kind of like a startup. So again, as I said, we get the girls to work in teams with people they've not met before, really helping them develop their teamwork skills. We usually give them a persona, so we teach them about design thinking skills. So it's not just hard coding, but really the whole development process. We also introduce them to how to do like marketing and pitching techniques. And then we give them HTML and CSS workshops so that they can then go and create a website on the cloud. And normally we'll also introduce some sort of like Node-RED coding to be able to show them how they can implement things like a voting system. So that's a bit more technical rather than just a website creation. And really it enables them to develop their presenting skills, develop their coding skills, and as I say, get introduced to the world of work. We also have, that's the police outfit at the top. We also just tend to run a murder mystery because it's great fun. And it's usually, you have to unlock the clues using code. So it's just a fun break from the sort of general project work that we do during this event. And it's a fun activity for them to do, which again, involves more coding and is sort of unlocking that problem solving thinking that we need within software development. So what it actually gives them is it gives them multilingual programming exposure. So like I said, we're teaching them CSS, HTML, and Node-RED. So that's multiple different programming languages that they can then take away and use if they're interested. We end up at the end with websites that the girls can actually see hosted on the cloud. So this is a fantastic way of really getting creative, enabling the girls to utilize their code to actually see something at the end. A lot of technology and coding, it takes a very long time to be able to see any visual results. So this is a fantastic way in just 2 days to actually see visual results and inspire the girls to want to get sort of more knowledge in this area and continue their experience with it. As I say, we also want to give them insight into the types of careers they could do. So what we do is we generally tend to run a career session where we'll invite women in various different careers from our lab into this sort of career networking session, and they can then learn about and question. It's like a speed networking. So we get the girls to move around in different groups and ask our mentors questions as they go. So they usually have about 5 minutes to speak with each role model. And the great part about this is they're from loads of different departments. Some are from design, some are from enterprise development, front end, some are in managerial roles, some are in programming roles, testing, a huge variety of different roles. So really giving these girls the experience that there's a huge variety of roles and careers that you can do within the technology industry. So in terms of feedback and how successful this event is, 4 is essentially very, whereas 1 is not at all. So 4 is where we want to see stuff actually happening. So we asked them a few questions before and after the event, and you can see how the results change from the top here, which is pre-event, to the bottom, which is post-event. So how interesting do you find science and technology? A huge increase from number 3 to number 4 there. How interesting do you find programming or coding? Again, a big increase towards the right-hand side, which means that they are very interested. So we've been able to inspire those girls to consider careers and consider sort of programming to be interesting, which is great. And then how comfortable. We were also focusing on soft skills as well as the programming. And again, we were able to increase how comfortable they felt with presenting, a really important skill no matter what environment they're in when they do their career. And how well do you feel you work as part of a team? Again, teamwork, a really important soft skill that we've then helped them with. And the difference that we made is clear from the feedback that we get from these girls. The fact that they're saying, they love the experience, they want to get more in the future, they're considering careers within this technology now. I loved this one. I thought I wanted a job in physics, but now I just want to work in a tech company. Amazing. If we can give these girls that experience that they would not have had otherwise, it opens up their mind to these potential career paths and potentially means that we're able to make a difference in encouraging more women in STEM and technology and increasing the diversity of our industry. So you can run an event like this yourself. Again, it's just basically putting together very basic workshops, planning out the activities and basically making connections with your local community to invite those school-age girls in. Now, if you're not comfortable running an entire sort of 2-day event, there are smaller things that you can get involved with and do with your local community. So, for example, machine learning for kids. So this is a sort of program that was set up by someone I work with in the UK labs. And essentially, it's using Scratch programming. So it's kind of a really basic level of coding where you're dragging and dropping boxes that represent different code underneath. So you might drag a when box or a for loop or an if loop or a switch. So these are color coordinated boxes. So it makes it really easy for young kids, especially, to get started with coding without having to actually know the syntax of a language. So basically learning the concepts of coding without actually having to learn a language. So it's a really fantastic tool. And essentially, Dale, the guy who created this, connected it in with some of our AI APIs to enable young kids to get involved coding and using machine learning and AI. So you can visit machinelearningforkids.co.uk. There's loads of different individual lessons that you can do. So if you want to go into a school, for example, and run a one-off lesson or a couple of lessons, or maybe you're part of like a scouts group or brownies or a community for young children, and you want to run a fun activity involving coding, this might be one you'd like to consider. And again, it can be really great at removing those barriers of kids expecting, oh, well, machine learning is really hard, or I don't know any coding languages. Doesn't matter. You can get started straight away with Scratch, and it's a really fun way to get young kids involved in coding and learning about AI and machine learning, especially when many of them are already using things like Alexa's, Siri's, Google Homes, etc. So being able to show them, oh, you've actually coded something really similar. That's amazing. And their minds get blown with that. So it's a really powerful tool that you can utilize. And there's some really fun labs. Like there's one where you can make a Harry Potter sorting hat and you input different phrases from different houses, and then it asks you questions and it will sort you into a house. So some really fun labs that you can do with this that kids just absolutely love. But if you don't want to run something yourself, there are tons of different organizations out there around the globe that are set up specifically to help increase diversity within our industry. These are some of the ones that are focused on increasing the number of girls and women within our industry. So they run specific activities and workshops and education sessions that you can get involved with. These are some of the ones, some of these are based only in the UK, but there are tons around the world that do it. So you can just literally, it takes like a quick Google, you just Google for them, but some of these are global, so you will be able to take part. But if it's not specifically women in tech that you're interested in, more generally, you're interested in, say, other diversity initiatives, there are lots around the world that do that as well. So the Hidden Genius Project, that's a fantastic project that trains and mentors Black male youths in technology. So if you're interested in that one, check their website out. There's also Colour and Technology and STEM Ambassadors. STEM Ambassadors is a UK program, but they have similar programs around the world where essentially you can sign up to become an ambassador, and then they can essentially organize the events and you can volunteer your time at them to help inspire more into STEM careers. So if you're interested in running an event yourself, then you can definitely get in contact if you want any of the materials that we've used previously. You can access my LinkedIn, for example, or ping me on Twitter. Otherwise, here are some of the useful links to the websites and the resources I've mentioned throughout this presentation that you can visit. Again, you can provide things like interactive labs, lesson plans, things like presentations and ideas for like lessons or activities with young kids. So there are tons that we can do to be able to inspire and really activate the young community, because that's really where we find the drop-off in interest and where we should be focusing a lot of time and energy on, because really that will enable us to then hopefully get more people applying. Like we were talking about in the previous session, we want to get more people into these jobs, into these roles. So if we can get more female and diverse candidates applying, then that's going to make our job even easier. So we really need to be encouraging young students, no matter their background, their gender, etc., to really consider careers in technology and see where they could help to make a difference and help us with our business problems, those job shortages, product innovation, greater product development, and just enabling greater mental diversity within our collaborative teams. So hopefully I've inspired you today to maybe try one of these yourself, have a Google, see what you can get involved with, or maybe run your own event. So thank you very much for listening.